What's up, everyone? Welcome to my corner of the internet. I'm your host, Ryan Cramer, and this is Crossover Commerce, presented by PingPong Payments, the leading global payments provider helping sellers keep more of their hard-earned money. Hey everyone, what's up? I'm your host, Ryan Cramer, and welcome to episode 110 of Crossover Commerce. This is my corner of the internet where I bring you the best experts in the Amazon and e-commerce industry, sharing their insights and most important aspects of selling online. If you're new to the show, welcome. Again, if you're watching on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, thanks for tuning in today. We're actually going to be asking a couple questions today. How does a full service agency approach growing the brands they work with? How do they approach that catalog optimization needs, creative assets, account health advertising, so on and so forth? How does an agency juggle all of these different concepts? So we're going to ask those questions today and get some insight, pull behind the curtain, if you will, with our C and talk about how e-commerce agencies drive growth for their clients. So aptly titled, this episode, if you will, is titled Inside the Mind of a Full Service Agency. As always, Crossover Commerce is presented by PingPong Payments. If you don't know anything about PingPong Payments, let me quickly tell you that they transfer more than $150 million a day for e-commerce sellers just like you. If you're listening to this, they've helped over 1 million Amazon customers to date in order to help them save on sending and receiving money online, processing over $90 billion in cross-border payments to date, which is 90 billion with a B, folks. That's a lot of money that's changing hands, and they're saving money for sellers just like you. So if you want to learn more information, go ahead and check that link out below. Save yourself some money if you're selling internationally, or if you're sending money to your VA, to your supplier, manufacturer, or if you're receiving funds from different Amazon marketplaces. Check out PingPong, certified payment service provider that is going to help you save money in the long run, no matter what size of business you are. Go ahead and check them out today. Again, welcome everyone who's watching live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. As always, this is a live interactive show. So if you have a question or if you want to say hi to myself or our guest, go ahead and put that in the comments section. Or if you're watching on YouTube, put that in the description right over there to the right-hand section. We'll be able to see all those comments to make sure that we answer those. Just go ahead and put those questions or tag us in those comment section. Even if this is after the fact, go ahead and submit your questions and we'll be able to answer those as well. But about our guest today, this show is not just about me, it's about our guests that we bring on, the experts, the pioneers, if you will, of the Amazon and e-commerce space. No stranger to the show. He was back on season 1, one of the first, few episodes that we had when the show is taking off, but wanted to bring him back because he wants to give that his insight to the agency side of being on Amazon. And there's been a lot of this going on since October, November timeframe when we last spoke. But our guest today, with 6 years in the world of Amazon, maybe 7 now, since we last talked to him, having worked on thousands of e-commerce businesses, large and small, Keith O'Brien, now leads a team of keyword specialists, copywriters, photographers, creative directors, designers, data geeks, advertising strategists, and brand managers to bring Page.One solutions to brands looking to scale their Amazon businesses. Keith is a dad, author, golfer, and foodie. We relate there fully, and is generally easily influenced by great food, a nice red, or a tasty bourbon. All sounds good to me. About Page.One, Page.One is a full-service Amazon agency. They've been helping brands grow for at least 6 to 7 years now, currently helping clients generate more than $200 million a year. I'm assuming gone up since we last talked to them. On Amazon, and Page.One is unique that they have an in-house team with content optimization, photography, design, PPC management, and account management all in one. We're going to get that insight from him today. Welcome to Crossover Commerce. Welcome back to Crossover Commerce, I should say. Keith O'Brien of Crossover Commerce. Keith, how is it going, sir?
Hey, how are you? Great to have you.
Man, I'm doing it.
Thank you so much.
I'm doing all right, man. It's been a while since we last connected, but you've been busy, I'm assuming.
Yeah, life's been full for sure. I just get I think I have background envy, man. You've spent some good time personalizing that background of when you're big time, that's what you got to do, man. You need to set. So I
when you
appreciate
get to
being,
triple, yeah. I was gonna say, when you get to triple digits, that's when the heat's on. You have to start innovating, coming up with color, really starting to pop. You start to watch a lot more YouTube videos, honestly, about how to stand out on stuff like this. So it is what it is. But I appreciate the nice touches always. But hey, thanks for coming on. You're in an office for now. Last time you were in your home. So what's kind of it since we last connected with you? What's it been like over the past couple of months for Page.One?
Yeah, I mean, our office is still a bit of a ghost town. So we have like a converted warehouse in South Florida, twin warehouse studios or bays, and the bottom floor is all where the warehouse is, right? It's all converted for photography studios. So like in the downstairs, we have a fully built out like Italian kitchen. We have a bedroom set, living room set, big cyclorama wall for full length background shots, and then I'm upstairs in the office space. And, I'm the only one here, but it's cool. Most of the team has settled into working from home, and I think I actually don't know if we'll hire another employee that chooses to work full time out of the office unless their responsibility is deemed necessary, like the photographers downstairs. So
Right.
I think a lot of flex scheduling is in the entire world's future, right? A couple days in the office, couple days out. Assuming you've got the home life to be able to do that.
I was gonna say, and you have the right people to be able to, to be able to get the job done. And I think that's key, is making sure you have the right team surrounding you. My team has been fully remote 100% since for the past year plus, and it's been definitely interesting. I know people are starting to get out in the world, go to conferences, start doing meetups again. Is that something on your radar coming kind of full circle? Is that something in the next couple of months for you?
I think our booth is actually close to yours at Prosper. Aren't you guys?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we do have a booth at Prosper, and I think I do remember that.
Yeah, I think I tried to get right by you guys, but I think I'm actually across the center area. But we're just booking now, and I just booked in a hotel for Prosper. I was late to the game. I didn't think it was going to happen, to be honest, and so I kind of just snoozed on it. And but it's all good. It's been a long time, man. We sponsored our previous company. We sponsored the first Prosper show back like 6 years ago. So wow. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know it seems to be a hot topic that a lot of people are kind of circling on their map, or at least for the rest of the year. Prosper, if we're talking events specifically, I think IRCE, formerly known as IRCE Retail X in Chicago. There's a couple other one-off events I think that are happening, but even just smaller meetups, people are starting to try to dip their toes back into the getting in touch with people, networking again in person. Is that really important for an agency like yours to get out there and be the face in front of sellers like that?
I mean, it can be. I think I don't think we've exhibited at Prosper before. We sponsored it, but didn't have a booth the first years ago. And then we've always been attendees. It's funny, like the last event was in Vegas that I went to, which was that White Label Expo event. And while, it wasn't a great event, whatever we can say about that. But, we did pick up a couple of really good clients from there. And one of which has become a very good friend, and so I think it's interesting. I think we're always trying to continue to contribute to the ecosystem in terms of content and training, and just giving back to an industry that's given so much this way. So that's part of our reason for being there. And look, as an agency, we're full service, and so we come off an event like that, and honestly, if we meet a half a dozen really good clients, then it's a great weekend for us. We're mid-size, kind of boutique-ish, So, we'll take on 20 new full service clients for the year, right? So it's not like we're out there trying to get, 200 people to come.
Right. And that is almost
right?
as a full service agency, because you guys don't specialize in just PPC or photography only. We've had people that just on the show specifically just have a specialization in those areas. Is it more hard or excuse me, less hard to be more across the board as an agency rather than just solely focused on one aspect of the business?
Sure. I mean, I think there's a challenge, right? And it just, it goes to having leadership on those teams, right? So, a team leader or department head for us would be very similar to, a consultant or a small an agency that focuses on just one thing. So we do take people on for ad management only, and then we do project-based stuff on the creative side. Generally speaking, on the creative side, it's larger projects, right? So we work with mid-sized to large brands, and we're doing 10 products at a time or 20 products at a time, or whatnot. So it tends to be that. But we do shoot product for everybody, right? And we do content for everybody. Our marketing focus tends to be full service.
That's amazing. What's you as a person? Is your background in more? It's in photography, correct? That's what you were before Page.One. You specifically?
Not at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I've shot some great photos with my iPhone on vacation, but
for some reason you came across as the photographer.
Oh, look, I've dove into that space because I like what I really enjoy conversion rate optimization. I think that I love the psychology of buying, and so my background is primarily direct response advertising and then leadership development. So I've always been in some sort of marketing or sales role, and I ran a leadership organization for 10 years. Prior to that, I spent 5 years selling, personal development and transformational courses. So, that's been the bulk of my career. And then, I always just liked how that kind of mindset and understanding of how our minds work translated over into consumer buying behavior, right? So that's always just been an interest and a passion of mine. And when we got started in the industry 6.5 years ago, that's kind of what I dove into. I mean, 7 years ago, no one knew how to search for keywords or write any copy. All the images on Amazon were pretty much taken with an iPhone or from a manufacturer, and that's how much the industry has evolved in the last 5.5, 6 years. It's crazy.
Right. And even since we last spoke on here, so much has changed specifically in the logistics side of things, but then also inventory management side of things. There's so much happening. And just even this past week, we were talking about, anyone I get on a call right now, it's my IMI is completely shot. I've been selling on maybe you even posted something like this, where I've been selling on Amazon for 6 years, and we have clients who've been selling on since the dawn of FBA. But now all of a sudden, they've just completely ruined our inventory levels. I'm curious, because this is such a hot topic, what's going on, like in your mind as an agency, what's going on?
Look, I think it's always fun to wax philosophical about what you think Amazon's thinking. But the reality is none of us really know. So, if I were to, I think for the first time probably in history, Amazon as a company is understaffed, right? Like to think about this with how many hundreds of thousands, I think they're pushing 700,000 global employees or something, to think that they could be actually understaffed is crazy, but I actually think they are, right? So, last year we saw Amazon they took the role of almost the Red Cross with distributing, PPE products, and and so millions, tens and tens of millions of pieces of that, were in their warehouses and given priority and sold. And, while that stuff is dying back a bit, I think they're pressed. I think, e-commerce took a huge lift in this last year. There's, businesses that used to have 5% of their business on Amazon now have 30% of their business on Amazon. And so everyone got the wake up that, especially mid-sized to large manufacturers that, maybe had 70, 80, 90% of their business in retail. Well, they've spent the last 15 months, 16 months completely overhauling their business so that this shit doesn't happen to them again, right? Nobody likes laying off staff. And if you were heavy into retail last year, you had all those hard conversations, and it's really difficult. So, I think that they're scrambling. We had a client that went from, oversized, that went from 1,600 units, 1,800 unit limit to 1,000 overnight. Now there's 650 pieces over the limit. Another client that went from 12,000, where they were pushing 11,000 total. They got dropped to 4,500 overnight. I mean,
Jesus.
Those are containers on the water. Those are, trucks en route, and I think those guys are going to be sitting there trying to get, inventory into Amazon for a long time. It's
so
tough.
for a simplistic reason, when you're over thousands of units or hundreds of units, what actually happens? Like, what's the ramifications from that? Amazon won't sell it, or they won't let you restock? What's kind of the actual ramifications in real life for that?
Yeah, I mean, look, to be honest, I don't know 100%, right? Because it's just happening. So you certainly can sell it all, right? When it comes time for inventory charges, if you don't sell through, it's going to be pricey, right? So but like the conversation is, do you just try to sell through real fast? But then if you do, you're probably going to get penalized and actually get your limits reduced. So I think it's going to be a balance thing. I think that there's this immediate thing to deal with these overages and inventory that's stuck and you can't have as much at FBA as you'd like. But once that's kind of handled, then it's just a strong FBA, FBM, strategy that is really for most e-commerce sellers is no longer an option. It's a must-have, right?
Right.
And back in the day, like the beauty was, everyone would send straight from your manufacturer into FBA, never touch inventory, never have to hit a 3PL. It was just simple, right? But those days are gone. History.
I was going to say, are you guys going to have to start offloading inventory to a warehouse somewhere and start handling that out yourself as another part of your agency?
Yeah, hopefully we just sell it, through Amazon before the bills come due. And but then you absolutely got to get your head around that FBA/FBM hybrid model and be able to flip the switch on SKUs as they go out of stock on FBA, and just constantly the inventory management is going to take a lot bigger piece of people's time than it used to.
So as an agency, maybe ask me this. I'm curious to hear from your point of view. Are you guys actively going to your clients and saying we should launch new products right now? Or are you saying my expertise, in my opinion, would be let's hold off a little bit right now and see kind of where the dust settles?
Yeah, so I think it's an individual scenario per client, right? But we're kind of hard pressed for growth, right? So we're always going to want to launch new SKUs, so some of our clients are on the vendor side, and they're in a little bit different position where a lot of their sales comes through the direct fulfillment process anyway, which is Amazon's old dropship program. So they're kind of business as usual, right? But on the FBA side, yeah, it's sure, but we'll launch new SKUs through FBM if need be. It's been interesting. I don't know if anyone else picked it up. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I said, there's subtle little hints that that Amazon is incentivizing FBM. Like if you look on your like for me anyway, like whenever on the Amazon buying app, whenever I used to open it up, it always would be toggled permanently to Prime, right? To filter by Prime, right? Because I'm a Prime like everybody else in the world, right? But I noticed a couple months ago, it started defaulting to that Prime little toggle being off, right? Which means you're going to show a lot more FBM search, which is interesting. And if they don't do something with seller fulfilled Prime to bring it back and open back up, they've got to do something. It makes sense for Amazon to have more Prime badges on more products, especially with warehouses that can actually handle the rules. It makes sense for them, right? I mean, it decentralizes the inventory. As long as people are holding to the standards that Amazon creates, it's a win-win for everybody, the business, the customer, and Amazon. So hopefully they do something regarding that.
Absolutely. And that's what we've been hearing a lot too. And that's the frustration with a lot of sellers is even though they might be held to a very high standard of fulfilling in 2 days, Amazon, even now, logistically, products are not even being shown across country because logistically they just can't get it there in time per that Prime inventory level or that Prime badge promise getting to you in 2 days or less. So that's another thing that I think is pretty fascinating. Is that something where you think long-term can legally hurt Amazon potentially as, hey, we have this standard, but we hold it to other people differently?
I don't know. I don't know any other business where what just happened would even, be legitimate and not like create massive lawsuits, right? Like, here's the rules. Here, the goalposts are here, right? So okay, let's get all this stuff into FBA, and then oh no, now that we have all the inventory, sorry, but you're over the limit, and we're going to start charging you for that. Like, that's just insane, right? It's just insane. But it is what it is, right? There's no value given to spending time on the stuff within Amazon that you cannot change, right? So you figure out how to play by the ever-changing system, and ultimately we'll still see a couple billion visitors on their site in any given month, and so it's still a great place to play and have at least a good portion of your business when it comes to e-commerce.
Yeah, this is kind of the scenario I always tell people is if you're playing when you were a kid, everyone's playing by one set of rules, and all of a sudden the person who's theoretically the boss or the king or whoever changes the rules instantaneously. Yeah. Like, oh no, this is actually what's happening. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? Then everyone ebbs and flows and plays by that rule, and then whoever is the big kid on the block can always change those rules instantaneously, make it fair for them. Everyone else is like, wait, that's not fair. You tagged me and I was on base. Nope, not the case anymore. So I like to make it simplistic in that when explain it to at least my family.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it is. It really is. No place do the rules change more quickly and more consistently than Amazon. But with that said, it was a breakout year and a huge year for the vast majority of businesses that figured it out, kept the pedal down, figured out what to do on their channel and in their store, and got to work, right? So, we saw lots of clients with massive growth years. So, at the end of the day, it's still a pretty good game to play.
Absolutely. So, who's the so right now, who is the space benefiting more? Is it agencies? Is it private label sellers? Is it 1P sellers? Who's the game benefiting the most right now? I said the game, but
I think everyone that's staying focused and working hard and staying creative is winning, right? We've seen huge brand growth, on both the vendor and the FBA and the third party side. agencies. A lot of my friends that own agencies had, hugely, years in the last 12 months. On the agency side, it's because it's so staff intensive, right? It gets, growth can be a challenge, right? And the old agency model is just work all your staff until they can't breathe, right? So which is not fun. It's not good for anybody. It's not a long-term good strategy. So, you're seeing a lot of movement in the agency space. Obviously, with all the aggregators, it's been, there's been hundreds and hundreds of brands that have been acquired. That's creating other, challenges within the industry, and finding talent and staff and all that is getting incredibly, much more competitive. But at the end of the day, there's always going to be the right fit for the right person, the right professional. Some people are great and love it working at big companies, with hundreds of staff, and for other people, that's a nightmare, right? And
Right.
some people are going to love to, park their hat at an aggregator and take the run, and for other people, that is far too risky, right? To hang your hat on that single. Depending on what happens over the next couple of years. So it's just there's a place for everybody in the space. If you're a consummate professional, you keep learning, and you dig in and try to put your best effort forward every day.
So where, as an agency owner, where are you guys growing the most? Is it for staff wise? Is it the need for more ad specialists, or is it more for logistics, or is it copywriters? Where's the growth really happening where you guys are you just can't find enough people to fill it?
Yeah, we're kind of across the board. So we're hiring right now on our advertising team. We're about to hire on our brand management team. And then behind the brand managers is the catalog team. And so, we're good on the creative side, and we're good on the content side at the moment. But, a brand manager realistically can only handle a certain number of clients, and those are dependent on, how many SKUs they manage, what the complexity of the account looks like. You could have a 2,000 SKU catalog, and it could be a relatively simple, straightforward, account to manage. Well, that's a lie. You could have a 2,000 SKU catalog, and it could be simpler than a 50 SKU catalog that has a lot of account issues, right? So, it's just a matter of kind of keeping that blend, and on the agency side, you got to hire ahead of your growth always, because if you wait till that's there, then you're too late and you're scrambling. So it's a dance and balance, and I do think that what the industry will see as a whole, and this is all the way through, is that costs are going to go up, right? So the consumers probably haven't felt it yet, but it's coming. Right? I mean, a container costs 4 times as much as it used to ship across. All in your cost of goods are all going up because all the raw material costs are all going up because they're getting squeezed. I mean, steel, as a raw material has gone up like, a couple 100%, this year. It's just nuts. So, and then, talent's going up, and I know, sellers and businesses don't want to pay it, but at the end of the day, all service providers, just like you guys, have to maintain a certain level of margin in order to serve the clients that you serve. And, when talent gets paid more, guess what? It's got to be felt by the actual clients. So I think it's all going to get pushed forward a little bit, this year certainly, and maybe in the next, and hopefully then it'll stabilize.
So is that the easiest pitch for you as a company then? As an agency, say, hey, you can go to 5 different locations to optimize on one thing. We can do it all in-house, save you a little bit more money, but in that regards, you can actually win more business in that regards. Is that a positive for an agency model? Because we're always talking about here at Ping Pong, at least, how can you find ways to put money towards your bottom line? I would assume if you can have it all in-house under one roof, that's a win for most sellers, right?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I think every business owner is different, right? So, some are building in-house creative teams, right? And need, and and then we're working with brands like that, and they're just piling their creative assets through to us, and we're repurposing it for different things. Amazon has become it's different today. There's a lot more places for creative. You take advertising as an example. There are creatives where a couple of years ago there really weren't any, right? And so between images, video, post, Amazon Lives, there's all kinds of new ways to get your brand in front of a consumer. And so the breadth of what an agency does is growing, right? And some won't do it all, right? Our kind of view is we want to do more for the brands that we're engaged with, so we can have a bigger impact on their business. If it falls under our purview, we want to be able to be a part of it. And I think it's, whether it's more or less expensive, it's simpler, right? You've got a single point of contact. It's they're overseeing all of our different departments, and so not only can you keep really solid brand consistency, right? So your content is in alignment with your images, they're in alignment with your A+ and your storefront and your advertising and your posts and all this other stuff. But you do have one place to be on top of all of it, because God knows you have enough of the other parts of your business to deal with, especially with supply chain and inventory, all these things that are pressing, right? So I think simplicity is a big key.
So where's the growth happen? Where does the growth start for you as a agency? What's prioritization number one? When a new client comes on board, where do you guys start?
Yeah, I was writing about this the other day. So let's give the example. It's an existing brand, right? So let's say the brand's doing 7 figures, $1 million, $1.5 million. So good size, maybe it's the Amazon division of a company that does retail, maybe other e-commerce, what have you. It's a portion of their business. So we would start we start by learning, really. We want to learn all the history, as much as the history as we can on Amazon. We want to learn their history off of Amazon. We want to learn the kind of the process and the historical data of all their individual products. Some of that we can decipher from reporting, right? So we're going to pull all the reports, look at all of it. We want to find out what the drivers are from a revenue standpoint, from a profitability standpoint, from a conversion rate, what are the highest ones? And then we want to look for all the things that are impeding those things, right? So we look at account health issues. We hear the kind of, we got to find out where all the bodies are buried related to all these products over the last couple of years. What's worked, what hasn't, what issues have you had? This one right here has had, a little bit of high of an NCX rating. Why? What are customers saying? Go back through the old, crappy reviews. You just take time and you got to assess their whole catalog. Once you've done that, so it's kind of like, it's really hard to get there if you don't understand where here is, right? So right. Before we can go into, okay, what goals are we going to establish, we got to just kind of understand the foundation. Now, while we're doing that, because nobody wants to wait for all that to happen, right? While we're doing that, we're trying to pull some levers to see if we can make some improvements on what we would just low-hanging fruit, right? Is there a lot of ad waste that we can trim right away that's just being spent on non-converting keywords? So saving money oftentimes makes people just as happy as making more of it, right? So Can we trim some waste? We can generally optimize content really fast, right? So can we optimize the content of the top 5 bestsellers? So we're making so that we're catching and making a bigger difference on the traffic that's already coming, right? So we generally will tier out the catalog. Let's say there's 50 products. Generally speaking, 6 to 10 of those are going to be the best sellers, and that's going to represent 70 to 80% of their revenue, and the rest are going to fill in the rest. So we like to start off with what's actually driving the current growth and revenue, and see if we can make that better. Usually doing that shows the biggest wins increases, right? And then we look for potentially like some product that may have been, forgotten about, it's at the little kid table for the holidays that just hasn't gotten the attention, but market potential is huge, right? So, but it's always easier on Amazon to take something that's already spinning, like the river's running by, you're just putting your cup in it, so to speak, than it is to try to, launch something obscurity into the spotlight. So we took a client, we just did a 1-year review, smaller client. We picked them up when they were doing about $400K a year. They've got a lot of business off Amazon. Amazon was just really underserved. So in the year, we did just that. We got to work on their best sellers. I think their top line revenue grew by 80-something%. But we did that mostly through conversion rate optimization. We increased their conversion rate from store-wide from a little over 10 to a little over 20, with their best sellers averaging in the mid-30s. So, their best sellers tripled the conversion rate, and the rest of the store kind of, got close to double. And that was the biggest difference in their store, was making more use of the visitors that were coming. And then we really, they had ongoing serious account health issues. And so protecting the buy box and getting stuff, getting hijackers off listings, freeing up some of the products, those were huge wins.
So as an agency, you're going into a client, what are the typical ways that you're going to say, these are deliverables or your KPIs, if you will? What's the traditional ones that one would work under? Is it conversion rate optimization, or is it, what are those parameters that you're going to say, these are our deliverables? You pay us if we hit those deliverables. Is it a scaling feature, or is it just a flat out nature? How does that work typically with an agency like you guys?
I think every agency is different, but for us, we take a base fee, and then we take a percentage of what we call adjusted gross revenue, right? So for us, adjusted gross means top line revenue minus FBA fees minus Amazon commission. So we're not going to take a percentage off the top of part of the fees that Amazon's charging you, right? So, but every account's a little different, right? So that what that base is and then what that percentage is going to be different for each business. We try to kind of scale out what the workflow looks like in the first year, and that's going to influence the, if you're brand new to market and you've got, you've got 100, SKUs to build out, that's 8 a month with creative and copy and everything. If you want to try to do that on an a la carte basis, you're going to spend a fortune, right?
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah, so we're going to take a base, and that base generally covers what you got to remember is you're now handing over the running of your business to a team, right? And so, even just at the current revenue, there's all this work that your team internally no longer has to do, either you or your staff. So that's part of it, right? But no one wants to pay to just hand over your business and not grow. So the rest of it comes with growth. And so, so the answer to your question specifically, it's all of those things, right? So sometimes we get a business that, man, their assets their images look amazing, their A+ looks amazing, their content looks amazing, and now it's let's pour on growth strategies. Let's optimize the advertising. Let's work together for new product opportunities that fit nicely within your existing families of products. Let's work on increasing the session count through all the different ways and levers that we have now. So, but to be honest, that's rare, right? That's rare that all those other things are in place. They're usually in place for a portion of the catalog, but not all of it.
Gotcha. Yeah. So in your mind, go ahead.
Sometimes they're not in place for any of it. We manage a 5,000 plus SKU catalog that's a hybrid account, and I mean, everything needs to be updated over time.
Absolutely. And I just want to give a quick shout out to everyone who's watching online. Rob Stanley, friend who's now over at Gatita. Keith is a great knowledge person in the Amazon space, but he actually had a question come in. Keith, what is the number one tip you would suggest for new sellers on Amazon, PPC, etc.?
Number one tip for new sellers. Yeah, that's a loaded question, man.
I was going to say, come on, Rob. It could be a little bit easier question, man.
I think protecting your margin, I think, is probably the most important thing. Like if you're not in the game with a big enough spread, if you're not, 5 times your cost or 4 times if you're under $50 and you're not 5 times your cost, it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be very difficult to continue to buy customers. And you have to assume that you're going to need to buy all of your customers for a period of time until you get organic traction. And at any given time, your need to advertise more or less is going to change, right? So you got to make sure that you've got that margin spread. And then like, especially if you're in a competitive space, you got to get off the wallet and just invest into your business and spend some money on advertising strategically. But you gotta get yourself into the game, right? See, look at that. You're on it, Rob. And it's going to take a minute to get yourself. I mean, you're fighting your way in to the lineup, right? I mean, with businesses that some of them have been there for years, right? And they're not going to give up their real estate easily. So, you got to be strategic. You got to try to think in ways that they aren't. Most sellers are smarter today than they were 3 years ago. But there are crazy niches. I was doing a coaching call the other day. I said this on another podcast with a client, and we were looking through keywords, and there was a keyword that was great for their brand that there was no advertising on, 0. I was like, go launch that campaign and bid 2 cents. It's all yours.
Yeah, just take it.
Yeah, yours. I mean, thousands of searches a month and nobody advertising. It was crazy.
Well, going off of that point, and you and Rob made an interesting point. I've heard this more, and I started thinking about this as time has gone on. So many people especially sellers, seem infatuated with the $25 or less product. And to me, as a seller or as a person who's looking at that, there's one of two things when I look at margin. You either better be getting that for like a nickel, or there better be a high quantity that you're going to be pumping out and it's going to be worth it. That being said, why don't more people look at higher valued products to sell online when now more luxury items and things of just over $100 are becoming more and more commonly purchased online? Why don't sellers look at that a little bit more instead of the $25 or under products?
Honestly, I think it's mostly capital, right? Capital and breaking through potential fears, right? So let's say you have a product that's gonna retail for $100, right? You're probably, when it's that pricey of a product, you don't need a 5-to-1 markup anymore. You're probably good with a 3-to-1 markup, right? If you can source that and land that product for $33, you're probably in pretty good shape. Because even after your 15%, and then depending on what your FBA fees are, like I personally sell a product that sells for $99 for $100. My FBA fees are only $4 because it's light. So there's plenty of room in there for a landed cost of like $32, $33, which is where we're at. But that was a $25,000, first order buy, right? So, and that's only 500 units, right? So, by the time you finish with the creatives, and my goodness, you're selling a $100 product, you better put some good images on that thing. And so by the time you get all said and done, you're probably in for that first SKU at $25,000. And so that's a big, swallow for a lot of starting sellers. For the larger brands, or for growing brands, or like we have that same 5,000 SKU catalog, we sell table games and big stuff, and foosball tables and pool tables and all kinds of stuff that is incredibly expensive. So the amount of money that company has on the water at any given time is crazy. But Amazon's 10% or 5% of their business, and they have lots of different distribution points, so it mitigates the risk.
Sure.
So I think that's the biggest thing. I think for most people it's capital disbursement, and when the price of the product keeps starts creeping up there, you just always have more money in motion.
Right.
And it's sitting on a single on less SKUs.
Right. I was going to say, so in your opinion, would you rather sell more of one product at a lower price point or less at a higher price point? Is there a different stressor in each of those cases as an agency? Velocity versus quality. Does that make sense?
I think what I'd rather, I just want to sell what sells, right? And makes profit for our clients, right? So, my girlfriend has an extremely successful e-commerce business, and, her most expensive product is $50 or $60, and she has a lot of stuff that's 20 and under, and she just crushes it, right? At great margins. And her business is for sale, by the way. So anyway.
So if you're an aggregator out there right now and you're listening, business is for sale, you need to contact Keith. Instagram, his Instagram handle's right there, so message him directly. Well, he'll be the one who facilitates those fees.
Yeah, that's look, I think it's there's not better or worse, it's just different, right? So that client of ours doesn't want to compete against the low end space. They tend to license or manufacture things that are at a premium level. Like they're exclusive license holder for Garlando foosball tables, an Italian manufacturer. These things are freaking amazing. I mean, it's anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 table, but these things are tanks, right? Some of them are indoor, outdoor. Their craftsmanship is it's like the Ferrari of foosball tables. But then, you can get, perfectly good foosball table for probably $400, $500, right? So, or you can probably get some real crappy ones that are going to last the summer for $150, right? So, I just think it's whatever your flavor is good to run with, and it's just you find that groove and just run as fast as you can with it, right? So
things I never thought I would hear on the podcast today: the Ferrari of foosball tables. Mark it down. It's going in my book of great quotes from this podcast. Ferrari of foosball tables. Love it.
There you go.
That's amazing. Well, that's the thing is, almost anything online can be sold in theory if you're solving a product. It's just, what's your cost? What can you sell it for? Is there an audience to purchase it? If you can sell the Ferrari of foosball tables one a day and you make your nut, instead of selling 100, like you said, cheap ones are going to last you a year, of course you're going to probably opt for one. You'd spend a little bit more to get that one acquisition. It's a little bit easier to do than consistently do 100 a day to just make up for that one.
Sure. It's not just the revenue thing, because how Amazon works, right? It's all about ranking, right? So it's going to be significantly harder to rank those premium goods than it is the lower price ones that are going to benefit from volume and a higher conversion rate. So, it's, you got to kind of weigh it, and there's probably a sweet spot in there. But again, I think it all just comes back to like how you want to deploy your capital, right? And that's the name of the game. You need plenty of it in this time frame.
So how does your approach, a couple before we get to the top of the hour, how does your approach as an agency continue with the rest of the year? Because we've just passed that 1/3 mark of the year. We're looking at Prime Day mid-June, which hasn't been officially announced yet, but it's being heavily hinted at. So you have Prime Day, then we're going hot into Q3, Q4. What's kind of the strategy for you and your team moving for the rest of the year?
Yeah, this new this new move by Amazon to, keep things unannounced until the last minute is really awesome.
I was gonna say it makes vacationing right now pretty easy, right?
We're 2.5 weeks away from mid-June. Like, how in the world is this date not announced yet? But anyway, so let's say it is mid-June, right? Which is odd because there's another fairly big sales day mid-June, which is Father's Day, right? So Father's Day for a lot of products is a huge bump, right? It's a big selling
Absolutely.
bump. So I know for some of our brands, it's Father's Day bump is the second biggest behind Q4, right? So some it's Mother's Day. It just depends on the focus, but it's interesting. So right now, Prime Day, like you already have had your deals were due in ages ago. So if some got accepted, then there's a variety of different things you can do to strategize for it. But but don't forget Father's Day, right? Because we did all of our creatives for Father's Day, over the last couple of weeks and months. And so, we like to highlight that. Like, we might change out an A+ content. We may put a separate tab in the store, specifically for that holiday. If you get, sometimes you can get, creatives through on sponsored brands that highlight Father's Day. Generally can't say sale, but you put a dad with their kids.
Assumingly, yeah.
Now with all the different creatives that you can do. So there's lots of options, a way to draw eyeballs, right? And then, there's all the things with posts and lives and everything that you can do to pick up some viewers that, that just didn't exist a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. We talked about a few episodes ago. We actually said less is more. Let the customer assume what the product is for and not tell them what it's for, because they might opt out and they might not want to feel pigeonholed. Like, that's not for Father's Day. I want that for Grandparents' Day or something silly and stupid like that. So almost less content is more opportunity is what we were talking about. So that would be something for, obviously it could be a Prime Day sale or it could be Father's Day sale, like you said, assumingly people can look at it one way or another.
It's going to make the summer interesting though, because, that was what Prime Day was invented for, was to put a little shot in the arm of the summer, which normally sucks for e-commerce, right? It's just abysmal. And Prime Day was created just in the middle of the slowest, e-commerce month of the year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, June, July, August, or July, August, September, really.
And it's funny when that gets officially announced, because then you'll have other marketplaces follow suit. Walmart, Target, Best Buy, everyone that sells products in those retail stores or online stores also follow suit. So it's not just shot in the arm for Amazon sellers, but if you're selling on multiple marketplaces across the board, it kind of uplifts that entire month or that quarter. So it's quite fascinating, to be honest. Go ahead.
Forward because of all the inventory issues, right? So, maybe it's Amazon's way of trying to, clear out inventory and help sellers. That's probably idealistic, to think that, but who knows,
we could talk about, I swear I've talked about that on at least 10 straight shows of the problem with the inventory game right now and how can we figure this out? And it's really hard to kind of give an answer to people, just because of launching new products is tough. Like you said, managing for specific days like Father's Day, Prime Day, moving forward, and then figuring out even the tail end of this year, we're going to have to put in those massive orders because of Chinese New Year. I believe the Olympics there's something that has to happen in China that's happening on the tail end of this year that it's going to just delay even further, because I think the Olympics is happening in Japan or China. I forget which one. I should know this, but it got delayed a year. So
no clue whatsoever.
But it actually affects, because workers going back to going to the games and whatnot would potentially have delay on travel and whatnot. My one final question for you, Keith, focused on the agency side. Do you want your clients, or I should say not your clients, your workers or employees, do you suggest that they sell on Amazon on the side as well simultaneously, or do you say no selling? What's kind of your stance on that? I'm curious.
That's a good question. I've heard some agencies, say that they think it's a conflict of interest. I 100% disagree. I think that, there's very few ways to stay in the know on this industry without being in it, right? It's hard to stay up on it. Half the stuff that comes out through seller messages from Amazon and updates and seller communities, and and I think that there's obviously they can't sell competing products from our clients, like they're on very strict non-competes, but I think there's a little bit added kind of insight and commitment to your job when you're in the game, and you're not just the coach on the sideline, but you're actually what's that old hair club thing? Not only a founder, I'm also a member.
Right.
Like,
exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
In it provides a much different perspective, right? And so I think that's important. So I think 1, 2, 3, about half of our staff sells.
Is that something that you actually invest in them to sell? If they're like, hey Keith, I want to like sell on Amazon, where should I start? Do you guys have a vesting interest in that as well, or is that all purely separated?
So we do from a time and resource standpoint. We don't from a monetary standpoint. We don't take equity in their businesses.
Sure.
We encourage them to grow. I've reviewed products for a lot of my staff and plans. We give them services at cost, and so anyway, I mean, there's lots of opportunities, a way to contribute to them. Yeah, but we don't.
That's really cool. That's a cool opportunity. So that being said, how can people reach out to you? I know we put your social handle for Instagram, or excuse me, LinkedIn. Yeah, I know, LinkedIn at the bottom. So we did that for how they should connect with you.
Instagram. So thankfully they're not going there.
I was gonna say, you're not there. You're not on the gram.
No, I think the app's on my phone. That's about it, right? So I think for me personally, it's LinkedIn. Is the best place to go. From a business standpoint, if you want to talk about us working together, then just head over to the website, Page.One. There's an 800 number there. There's forms you can fill out, a gazillion different places. So, we have account managers. They'll happy to get back to you if you have a sizable brand that you're looking to put under management and grow. Then we'll probably end up talking personally in the early stages. So, but yeah, that's the best place to do it. You can look through a bunch of work and case studies and all that kind of stuff over there.
Hey man, I appreciate it every time you come on here, and I'm glad you can. We found a computer that works for you in terms of the internet. You need to start yelling at Comcast to start living up to their upload and download speeds, man.
We have gig speed in the office, and I mean it's like AOL dial-up from back in like 1987.
And it's faster internet has ruined us all, but it is what it is. To do business at scale, you need it. You need it to do it. So I would start yelling at certain people, but luckily you're the only one in the office.
I just really think half of your audience doesn't even know AOL used to have internet service.
They did, I only know all too well. So that's man, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but it was long ago.
We used to use those things as frisbees, man.
I know. Exactly. Oh my gosh. My times have changed. But as well, you're going to be at Prosper. So if you're listening to this, check out Page.One at Prosper Show. They have a booth. Ping Pong has a booth. We're going to basically be booth buddies across the way from each other. Lots of good stuff that's coming up. Hopefully everyone's staying safe down there. Nothing crazy happening in Florida that's out of the ordinary other than what typical Florida is, right?
We've been open for a year, right? So I think
exactly.
I think everyone just decided to not do anything about it anymore. So it's fine. We we won't get into that. It's a whole other conversation.
Right. Whatever side of the way you fall, hopefully everyone stays safe no matter what happens. But that being said, hey man, thanks for hopping on again. Keith from Page.One, thanks so much for hopping on, man.
Hey Ryan, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks, Keith. Hey, and thanks to everyone for tuning in live again on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. Thanks for watching. Again, this is Crossover Commerce. This is episode 110, a peek behind the mindset of an agency in the Amazon space. You don't want to miss any of these episodes. Again, tomorrow, just like today, we're going to go live with other Amazon experts in the space. Tomorrow, I'm actually really excited because we're going to be talking with Joshua Porter of Elite Seller, software tool that's actually going to be helping people launch products now. It's kind of the ongoing topic formally, how do you launch products without getting in trouble with Amazon? What's the best way to do it? PPC, giveaways, coupons, rebates. We're going to dive a little bit into what Elite Seller is doing and then more on what's the insight from Josh. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. The best way to know when we go live is to follow me on social media. Again, on either LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. You can follow me, Ryan Cramer. Just search for me and you'll be able to find any of my social profiles, or just follow PingPong Payments as well. All of these episodes go live on our playlist on YouTube, so just go ahead and subscribe to that, though, so that you can obviously be notified when future episodes come out. Hit that notification bell. You won't be disappointed for doing that. Again, I'm Ryan Cramer, the host of Crossover Commerce. Join us again tomorrow when we go live and go deep into the Amazon and e-commerce industry. Stay safe out there, everyone, and good luck selling.